The story kicks off with a guy named Barney, a high school chemistry teacher who doesn't exactly fit the boring teacher stereotype. He's got a secret side to him, one that's more disturbing than anyone around him could guess. We see him driving out toward his second house near the beach, supposedly to work on some experiment. But this experiment isn't something you'd find in a classroom. Barney has set his mind on a dark obsession, kidnapping a young woman he's been fixating on. To test himself, Barney pulls out a rag and sprays it with chloroform. Instead of using it on someone else, though, he holds it to his own face and knocks himself out cold. He even sets a timer, just to see how long he'll stay unconscious. After about 37 minutes, he wakes up. The twisted smile on his face says it all. He's proud that he came back around in good condition. In his mind, this means if he uses the chloroform on someone else, he'll have plenty of time to pull off whatever sick plans he's cooking. Barney spends hours in his backyard rehearsing. He sets up little practice runs, trying to figure out the perfect way to lure his target into his car. At first it's clumsy, but eventually he refines it so that once the girl is inside, escape becomes impossible. To him, it's all about perfecting the details, making sure nothing goes wrong when the real thing happens. Later that day, Barney heads to the bus stop to pick up his teenage daughter, Denise. She's starting to notice that her dad isn't around as much as he used to be. Even her mom complains that Barney is hardly home anymore. Denise, young as she is, suspects he's seeing another woman. What she doesn't know is that her father's absences are connected to something much darker than an affair. Even while he spends time with her, taking her out to the lake cottage to help her model, his mind is somewhere else, still polishing his kidnapping scheme. At the cottage, Barney notices a few spiders crawling around and decides to keep them. Sounds strange, but for him, even spiders can be props in his rehearsals. At one point, he tells Denise to open the picnic basket if she's hungry. The poor girl lifts the lid and instantly screams when she sees spiders inside. Her dad just watches, secretly pleased. The scream wasn't random. He wanted to test how far the sound carried and whether his neighbor could hear it. When the neighbor later says he didn't hear a thing, Barney grins, satisfied. That afternoon, Barney drives into town, looking for someone to trap. His nerves are high. His pulse shoots up to 180, but he pushes through. He even tries chatting up a woman by asking her for directions to the post office and offering her a ride. She turns him down, which makes him frustrated, but also forces him to learn patience. After a few tries, his heart rate calms down. He knows he's getting better at controlling himself. Back at home, Barney's wife Helen isn't buying his excuses anymore. She's convinced he's having an affair, since he's always gone and barely pays attention to the family. Barney brushes it off, telling her he's just busy with the cottage renovations. He promises he'll be back when the work's done. Meanwhile, the story shifts to another couple, Jeff and Diane. They're driving back from a trip to Canada when their car runs out of gas in a tunnel. They almost get crushed by a speeding truck, but Jeff manages to steer clear. He decides to walk back to the gas station for fuel, leaving Diane in the car. The tunnel freaks her out, so she waits nearby. By the time Jeff returns, Diane is gone. She shows up crying, scared of being left alone, but Jeff comforts her and apologizes. Not long after, Barney shows up at the same gas station. He's figured out a clever disguise. He walks with plaster casts on his arms, making people feel sorry for him. It also helps him sneak around with a chloroform bottle hidden in his sleeve. Diane asks Jeff to stop at the gas station for a drink, but she makes him promise never to leave her again. She takes the car key and heads inside. That's when Barney starts following her. When Diane takes too long, Jeff gets impatient and goes to check. He doesn't find her in the restroom. He shows the cashier her photo, only to hear that she was last seen half an hour ago near the lotto machine. Panicked, Jeff runs to the police, but they brush him off, saying they can't file a missing person report until 24 hours have passed. 3 years roll by, and Jeff is still consumed by what happened. He plasters the town with missing posters, hands out flyers, and begs TV stations to cover Diane's case. One night, drunk and miserable, he runs into Rita, an old classmate now working as a waitress. She recognizes him and offers him a place to crash so he doesn't drive drunk. They grow closer, and eventually Jeff starts dating her. For a while, he tries to let go of the past. Rita, though, discovers Jeff still carries pieces of his old life. She finds a gun he claims is for self-defense, but she insists he get rid of it. Jeff agrees, but secretly holds on to his obsession. Even when his publisher tells him to write about Diane's disappearance, Jeff resists. At first, money troubles eventually force him to give in. Rita notices his computer is password protected, She guesses a few combinations until she stumbles on the right one. Diane's name linked with the word vanished. Inside the files are letters and notes showing Jeff has never truly moved on. Furious, she confronts him, even going so far as to dress up like Diane to show how unhealthy his fixation has become. Jeff breaks down, admitting that not knowing the truth eats him alive. Rita storms off, leaving him to decide whether he wants to cling to the past or build a future with her. For a moment, he chooses Rita, burning the flyers and posters in a symbolic gesture of moving on. But Barney isn't done playing his twisted games. When he notices Diane's posters have disappeared, he writes to Jeff, pretending to offer closure. Rita begs Jeff to go to the police, but he's convinced they'll mock him. Determined to meet Barney on his own, Jeff ignores Rita's pleas. She leaves him, but Barney is already circling closer, even sneaking into Rita's place to ambush her. He backs off only after hearing her breakup message to Jeff on the answering machine. Finally, Barney reveals himself to Jeff in the most chilling way possible. He steps out of the shadows holding the car keys Diane had grabbed from the ignition the day she vanished. Proof that he was the one behind it all. Jeff had finally snapped. He lunged at Barney, slammed him to the ground, and demanded he spill the truth. From the balcony of her apartment, Jeff's neighbor Carmichael watched the entire scuffle unfold. But Barney wasn't rattled. He just smiled that eerie grin and calmly warned Jeff, "If you kill me now, you'll never know what really happened to Diane. There's only one path to the answers. You have to come with me." After a long pause and plenty of hesitation, Jeff reluctantly agreed. Deep down, the only thing he wanted was to find out what had happened to the woman he loved. Meanwhile, over at the pub, Rita was sipping her drink when she decided to call Jeff just to hear her voice on his answering machine. But instead of her own voice, she froze in shock. On the tape was Barney leaving a message. His tone was casual, but the content was bone-chilling. He'd left instructions for Jeff to meet him. Rita instantly realized something was very wrong. Barney, still treating this entire ordeal like some twisted science project, told Jeff there was a story he needed to hear before anything else. He began to recount a memory from a family holiday. One day at the river, his daughter Denise spotted a child drowning. Without a second thought, Barney dove in and saved the kid. Denise saw her father as a hero that day, someone strong enough to save the world. But inside, Barney wrestled with something darker. He wondered, if he was capable of being a hero, was he also capable of being a monster? In his mind, Diane became his experiment. Taking her wasn't about love or money. It was proof to himself that he could balance good with evil, that he could be both savior and villain at once. As they drove, a police officer pulled them over for a broken taillight. Jeff's heart raced, but Barney leaned close and whispered, "If you open your mouth, you'll never find out what happened to Diane." Jeff stayed silent, trapped by his own need for answers. Back at Jeff's apartment, Rita wasted no time. She called the police, played them the recording, and demanded action. But once again, the cops dismissed her. They said there was nothing illegal on the tape, and any official search would have to wait 24 hours. Frustrated and terrified, Rita turned to Carmichael, who told her she'd seen Jeff fighting with a man named Barney. Even better, Carmichael handed her the guy's license plate number. Armed with this new lead, Rita reported her car stolen just to keep the police alert, then started digging into who Barney really was. While Rita pieced things together, Barney kept talking. He admitted that Diane wasn't his original plan. He tried and failed at kidnapping other women. Each time, he botched it, and it made him feel weak and capable. He was about to abandon his fantasies altogether, ditching the plaster casts and giving up when fate handed him Diane. She had approached him at the gas station, asking for help with some coupons at the lotto machine. She even complimented his wrist bracelet, mentioning she wanted to get one for Jeff as a gift. That's when Barney pounced on the opportunity. He told her he was the only seller of that French-style bracelet and offered to give her a discount if she came to his car. At first, Diane hesitated, but when she saw his family photo tucked inside, she relaxed. In that split second of trust, Barney pulled the chloroform rag and knocked her out cold. Barney drove Diane away that day, 3 years ago, and now he was dragging Jeff back to the same petrol station like it was sacred ground. While all this unfolded, Rita was racing to his house. She had Jeff's gun and wasn't afraid to use it. When she arrived, she bumped into Denise, who assumed Rita was just her father's latest girlfriend. Rita played along, but Denise slipped up, mentioning that her dad was at the lake house. She agreed to give Rita directions, but only if Rita gave her a ride to see her boyfriend. Rita didn't have time to argue, so she agreed. Back at the lake house, Barney's game reached its sickest stage. He handed Jeff a cup of coffee laced with drugs, telling him he had to relive Diane's fate if he truly wanted answers. He didn't need a gun. Jeff's obsession was the only weapon he required. Jeff reluctantly drank, and soon everything faded to black. When he woke up, he was trapped inside a coffin, buried beneath the earth, still alive. He screamed for help, his voice muffled by layers of dirt. Rita, after dropping off Denise, hurried to the lake house. But the gun she carried was missing from its case. Before she could react, Barney attacked her from behind. Rita swung the empty gun case at him and bolted into the bushes. He chased her down, but she fought back with a piece of wood and managed to escape into the house. Breathless, she shouted Jeff's name, but the place was silent. Desperate, she grabbed the phone to call the police, but the drugs in her system made her dizzy. She stumbled, slurred, and collapsed to the floor. Barney crept inside again, ready to finish her off. Summoning every ounce of strength, Rita fought him off and staggered to her car. She started the engine, only to have it sink helplessly into the mud. Barney closed in, dousing her with chloroform. But Rita wasn't done fighting. With a burst of quick thinking, she lit his hand on fire using a cigarette lighter. The chemicals were flammable, and his skin ignited. The fire slowed him down, but not for long. He tackled her, dragged her back inside, and tied her to a chair. Calmly, he explained that Jeff now had a choice to make. Barney revealed his plan to force Rita through the same drug coffee ritual. Rita's eyes darted across the room and spotted something, a shoe caked with mud. It hit her instantly. This man had buried Jeff alive. Just like Diane, that's when she turned the tables. Rita bluffed, telling Barney she had kidnapped Denise and would only give her back in exchange for Jeff's life. For once, Barney's confidence cracked. He panicked, grabbed the phone, and called his wife Helen, demanding to know where Denise was. Helen had no clue. That's when Barney realized Rita wasn't lying. His daughter really was missing. With no other option, he gulped down the drug coffee himself. Rita took her chance. She rushed outside, found the burial site, and started digging with her bare hands. When she opened the coffin, Jeff was still alive, but barely conscious. Relief washed over her, but it didn't last. Barney, somehow still moving despite the drugs, lunged from behind and knocked her down. Jeff snapped awake, adrenaline coursing through his body. He attacked Barney with everything he had, finally overpowering him and ending the nightmare once and for all. In the aftermath, Jeff embraced Rita tightly, the trauma of everything they'd endured written across their faces. Nearby, they spotted another grave, a haunting reminder that Diane had been buried the same way years before. The truth was finally out, but it had come at a devastating cost. Sometime later, Jeff sat with his publisher. The man agreed to release Jeff's story, calling it gripping, unforgettable. But Jeff and Rita made one silent vow. After everything they'd endured, they'd never drink coffee again. And that's where the story closes. Thanks for sticking around. If you enjoyed the ride, make sure to hit subscribe for more dark tales like this one. Until next time, stay safe.